Linka has joined UNDP on December 2016. Since then, she's been coordinating national youth entrepreneurship and innovation activities with more than 20 countries under the Youth Collab Asia Pacific region. Before joining the UNDP, she also worked in a social enterprise in Hong Kong called Intercultural Education. So I welcome Colleen to the stage and I wish you a great session. I know it will be fun.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice. How was your lunch? It was so good that you ate more than your usual portion? Yeah? Yeah, I did too. My self-discipline decided to abandon me when I saw the food. So to kickstart this session, we have one energizer and one icebreaker. So I think we're just going to put up the icebreaker slide on the screen. But before we do that, given that this is a chance that we want all of us to get to know each other a bit, so just want you to make sure that you are sitting in a table of more than 2 people. So if you are feeling a bit lonely, feel free to join a slightly bigger table. All right, so while you're doing that, can I have the slides on? All right, so I think since this morning, we've talked a lot of amazing practices of, fair business, transparency, all these kind of things in ASEAN region, right? But I think it's also important for us to connect, what we do with who we are. So for the next 5 minutes, maybe 1 minute for you to reflect on if you can choose your top 3 core values. And here are the list of core values. Obviously, it's not everything. So if you want to have your own core values that's not on the list here, feel free to write it down. So choose your top 3 core values of, that represent who you are. So maybe it will just give you 1 minute, and when the time is up, you are very encouraged to share your answer with everyone on the table. So we'll spend around 5 minutes for the sharing. So if you're table 5, maybe a person would take up to 1 minute. All right, so I'll start a timer. So let's spend 1 minute quiet time among ourselves to reflect what are our core values. Yeah, if you can only choose 3. And those of you who are online, feel free to join us by writing down your top 3 core values. Okay, last 10 seconds. All right, time's up. I'll start a 5-minute timer. Feel free to share your answer with people on your table. If you can't find top 3, you can also share why is it so hard for you to decide between all of these. All right, so the time will start now. All right, time's up. Thank you so much, everyone, for your active participation for this part. I hope that you get to know each other on your table a bit more. And yeah, sorry to cut the conversation short, but we do have a panel discussion that we have to go to next. So before we do the energizer, I would like to invite my panelists to the stage, and then we'll do a quick energizer. All right, I'm just gonna invite them one by one based on the sequence on my note here. So first we have Diane. She is a startup enabler. Welcome to the stage, Diane. Next, we have Radhika. We will see her on the screen. So Radhika is an international gender expert. Hello, Radhika. Okay. All right. Up next, we have Larissa. She is a startup entrepreneur. She's a co-founder and CEO of Minanga Natura. Welcome, Larissa. And then next we have Ben. Ben is a UNDP program specialist of Youth and Civil Society. And then last but not least, we have Mia. Mia is a Movers Ambassador. Welcome, Mia. All right, so I want to make sure that all of us have your full attention and focus on the stage. So I'm gonna start with the energizer. So I need your full attention of my hand. So I'm gonna do this. So when my two hands are in parallel to each other, you clap once. All right? Okay, let's do it, try it once. Okay, let's try to synchronize, let's do it together at the same time. Yeah, okay, thank you so much for everyone. Hello. All right, cool. Thank you so much. So in this session, we're going to dive deeper into the FairBiz Business Integrity Toolkit for young entrepreneurs. And we're going to divide this panel discussion into three parts. Very simple, very straightforward, past, present, and future. We're going to walk you through of how it started and what has been evolved and what do we look forward in the future. Okay, so to begin with, to kick start it, let's take a look at the past, how it started. And for that, I'm gonna turn the mic and everyone's attention to Ben. So Ben, can you walk us through, how does this conversation of Business Integrity Toolkit for young entrepreneurs started, and just a little bit of background and history of it.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the energizer. I needed that after lunch. A big thanks to all the organizers and for working with us through the last couple of years. So my name is Ben Yamgabreski. I'm from UNDP. I'm in charge of the youth and civil society work. And as you all know, this region is quite busy with young people. I think we have over 660 million youth in Asia Pacific. So that's already like a shocker, right? I mean, this is quite huge numbers. But for us, that's not why we wanted to do it, because for us, we really see youth empowerment and youth engagement in our programs as a basic right to participate in decisions that influences your life. It's not a number game, ultimately. It's all communities need to be involved in our programs, because our programs become more solid, more informed, and more interestingly, more sustainable if we do engage communities. So I think when we engaged with the FairBiz from the beginning, they called us in and said, how can we do this in a meaningful way that is not tokenistic or short-sighted? Just invite them to events and forget about them. How do we really build pathways? So that was the beginning of the conversation. And we also know that young people in Asia Pacific, given that, there's over 160 million not in employment, not in education, and not in training, a lot of them are actually forced to start businesses, whether they like it or not. They might be informal, but they might, there's a lot of youth-led MSMEs in Asia Pacific, and we heard that earlier also, right? So there's many reasons why young people are particularly interesting for us in UNDP, but for all UN agencies as we work with. So in 2019, we were approached when early on to co-design this journey, and we particularly leading the Youth Collab, which is an initiative. It's a platform. Our first response, I'll be very honest, was like, startups don't have time to think about decent work, don't have time to think about business integrity, but at least we were like, let's challenge this. We do know what's going on in the region. We had a lot of data from UNODC. We had great information from Transparency International, where we knew that 30% of all young people had experienced corruption in the last 12 months. The data was there. We also knew that 3 out of 4 felt that corruption was holding their countries back. The data was there. And we also knew that 80% of young people, according to these studies, felt that they could make a change. So there was an optimism. So with that, we started the journey of co-creating, but we did a survey to see whether there was an appetite from young entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, startups, to look at business integrity. And I was shocked to get the response. They were all, really, I mean, the quotes are still valid today. They were really like, this is something that I've been thinking about all the time. This is a problem that we're facing, but no one has approached us. So this is great. We would love to do this. So we got a clear mandate from them early on. And we did some research, and I was quite shocked to see that there was very little reports or studies that looked at startups and business integrity. So this was like, we were one of the first ones to actually put something out there. So this toolkit, that's how it came to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben, for a very comprehensive overview. And I think one thing to highlight is that ever since the beginning, the intention of this toolkit is not, we want to create more sustaining and meaningful engagement with the entrepreneurs. It's not just one-off support. Thank you. And now let's turn to Larissa. Larissa, I know that you are one of the early, person who also being involved in the development of this toolkit. Can you share a little bit with us from the perspective as a young startup founder? Why this topic is important to you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Larissa. I'm from Indonesia, and I'm one of the founders that joined a UNDP program back in 2019. So it was a very early stage of the FairBiz toolkit, right? Yeah. So yeah, I was interested because as like what Mr. Ben said, founders tend to forget to create the core values and hold dearly to their their moral compass, because we are so busy try to make everyone have a decent life. So this is something that I personally really interested of. And one of the major point that I think really challenges me as a founder is that when as a founder and also the formulator of my business, Minanga Natural, so I have to comply with one of the Indonesia Ministry of Health regulation. I have to, in order to get my product to the market, I have to comply with their regulation, which is to get my product produced in a manufacturing facility. Because I don't have the money or the fund to build a manufacturer, the option was to do the toll manufacturing in another various manufacturers that we have in Indonesia. We have plenty, but the challenge is that the funding itself first. And then the other thing is that even though we already try join a business competition, and then also we try multiple pitching sessions, within 2 years we still couldn't get the funding. We are still we still have the insufficient funding to get to the permit. And then looking back, I try to reflect with my own values, why I started my business. And then I find that some of the values that are being shared through the toolkit, such as the to make a decent economy growth, and also to be committed in fighting child labor and modern slavery, try to make an inclusive environment and also business for everyone. And I translated that values into the commitments in our business to first responsibly provide the trusted and clear and transparent claims, such as when we say we are a natural skincare brand, we really look to the certification bodies that we have internationally, such as EcoCert for the organic cosmetic formulation. We also look up for another formulation certification bodies. So we try to avoid overclaiming, putting word natural. And then we also, try to make a healthy culture in our working culture. And the other thing is, when I mentioned earlier about the funding challenge, we actually learned a lot this year. Together with UNDP, we successfully created a crowdfunding campaign this is idea that I already have within the 2 years before, but I was so shy away from doing that. So with the UNDP support, like I was talking to another Linkas colleagues in UNDP, and then they really pushed me forward to pursue it. And then finally our company successfully reached the target. We get the funding that we needed, even beyond the target of the fund. And then with the funding, we finally can achieve the cosmetic permit in just last week. It's a long process. Yeah, I know it's a long process. Thank you so much, Yuan. He already knows the story. Yeah, so it takes us almost a year to accomplish this, and 2 years before that for the funding. So it's already 3 years journey. But I also talked to Miss Diane last night. We have dinner, and then yeah, I think that it is very rare right now, like young entrepreneurs are doing something that they love, they care about, especially like one of our company vision is to empower farmers. I don't really like the word empower though, because they're already empowered. It is sometimes us, the founders and formulators, learn how to protecting the earth through the natural skincare and natural farming, organic farming. So sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes it's about how young entrepreneurs also can contribute something to work in a larger means. So with the crowdfunding story, we also be able, to reach our business targets, and then inspires other local formulators as well, because a lot of beautypreneurs in Indonesia, they also struggle with the same problems. I have more than 100 another formulators in my formulations community in Indonesia that also struggle with the same thing. So our success story also inspires them like to find a solution without bargaining their integrity.
First of all, congratulations. Yeah, I think one big takeaway is that, standardize your operations and do it with integrity actually has business incentive behind it, right? Like for you to gather certificates, for you to find the right partner to work with. That's really, yeah, sorry, you want to add on?
No, you go on first.
So that really, in the way that, as you mentioned, that the journey that what you're doing is right, and then that you will get there.
Maybe another thing to add is I also, when we are preparing for today's event, when I talked with you last month, like I mentioned you that the concept of prevent, detect, and then respond in business integrity really helps our business to avoid scam, and then dishonesty in mentioning our suppliers, in complying with rules, because there are also manufacturers that involved in gray area when they have to submit the formula to the Ministry of Health. Like right now, we also face another issue in that. And also the other thing that also important to mention is that sometimes when people get more interested in our business and they want to invest, when they know we really being the straight business man, they see it as a flaw. They don't see it as a person who hold integrity. So I think the story of young entrepreneurs who try to do an honest work is important. So I really thank UNDP for inviting young people like me and Mia to tell this story, because we need more of that. We need more people to be more hopeful on our future. So that's the final thought to add to Linka.
Thank you so much, Larissa. Very, very beautiful sharing. So before we move on to part 2, we're going to see a little bit of the evolvement of this toolkit. I don't know how many of you have actually seen the toolkit, but I want you to imagine the previous version is maybe around like 100-page PDF, very comprehensive, step-by-step guide of what you can do when you have the challenges of, when face the challenges of integrity, etc. But then, regardless how comprehensive it is, it's still a PDF, right? So right now we have digitized it, and we want to give you a quick demo of how it looks like. So it's a screen recording, but just to give you an overview of right now, the toolkit is more accessible, it's a more interactive, and it's a little bit like, Coursera style. Sorry. And rather than just the knowledge, we also, also created some of the scenarios and some quiz for people who really, sometimes all those theory is very, very easy to understand. But then when you are in a situation, when you are in a scenario, maybe you realize, oh, it's actually really, really hard to practice it. So we also develop those like real life scenarios for people to really try to have more thinking and practice the learning. So this is how it looks like. You can go through each one of the small topic. So what we are trying to do is, instead of like searching the keywords in a PDF, you can actually go to each one of the topic in a very quick and easy way that you can locate a specific section as fast as you can. So I think that's, so here is how it looks like in the assignment that people can just write down. So right after they finish all of them, obviously maybe different target audience have different motivation of trying it. Some people might just use it and more like a, Wikipedia, try to understand a certain topic. Some people really very curious about it. So what we are trying to do is after they finish all the topic and assignments, they will also have a certificate automatically generated to their inbox. So I guess that's mostly all of the demo. Yeah, I think So for now, this toolkits, we have 3 languages. We have Vietnamese, we have Urdu, we have English. So look forward, as I think we've mentioned about localization a lot in the morning. So hopefully we'll be able to disseminate it to a larger audience with target language. So we're going to move on to part 2 of present of this more focus on this current version of the toolkit. So I'm going to turn everyone's attention to Diane. So Diane, I know that you were running the Idea Space, which is like a startup incubator and accelerator, and you were also part of the the main contributor of the development of this toolkit, and you also brought it to your national context. Can you share a bit more about your journey and why do you think it's important? And actually, I think you are the one that put the idea of, we need to break down all these sections, right? And make it more interactive. So can you share a little bit more about the story behind it?
Okay, good afternoon. So I was privileged to be part of the first version of the toolkit. And when we did the toolkit, so after that was put together, I was very proud, and I kept promoting this toolkit because I worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, and I realized that if they don't embed integrity from the start, they have problems. They have problems when they don't select the right people. Their company can end up a Pandora's box, and then if we look for funding, they can't get the funding because their books are all in disorder. So when the opportunity to be involved with the Business Integrity Toolkit came along, I said, yes, I want to be part of it. So when finally we had a toolkit, it was 120 pages, something like that. And then a PDF, and I keep promoting it still. And yeah, it became like 3,000 downloads on the UNDP as one of the most downloaded knowledge product in UNDP. But still, so when you came, there was an opportunity for us to revise it. I checked with entrepreneurs, and then I first checked with the people who joined us in 2019, wasn't it? 2018 when we crafted it. And I asked them, have you read the toolkit? Has it been useful for you? And they said, oh, it's there. Like some of them were like, they didn't. And so I started to dig deeper and find out what is wrong. How come you didn't use the toolkit? So I myself, I realized it took so long, or Philippine internet speed takes a while before we can download the entire document. And then it was not in portrait format. You have to download it. Ideally, you have your whole screen on landscape, and then you can check it. And then one section, it refers to another section. And so it was kind of difficult. And we started to ask entrepreneurs, when you have a problem, how would you use the toolkit? And so they said, if I have sexual harassment, I just want to Google sexual harassment, what to do. And so the toolkit didn't have that ability where you could just be directed to a topic. So that's how the second version, we were able to break it down. And then now it's further iterated to something a lot more interactive, thanks to, I think it's a community, thanks to all the work that we put together. And I think there's still a lot of ways we can improve. There's just so much. So I hope that answers your question, Linka. The entrepreneurs don't have much time, really. And when you have problems as an entrepreneur, you want the answer right away. I remember that when I first was working with entrepreneurs, I have this whole curriculum because we're kind of programmed to have a prescriptive approach to things, right? If we go to university, you have to learn this. But with entrepreneurship, it's not the case. It's really more additive approach. It's not prescriptive. My first lesson in entrepreneurship was, I have all this list of lessons, and then one of them was accounting for non-accountants. And then 2 weeks after that session, an entrepreneur asked me a topic that was covered in that accounting for non-accountants. I said, didn't you listen to that session 2 weeks ago? Did you take notes? I was there, but I had lots of other things in my mind, so I didn't. And then he said, that wasn't my problem 2 weeks ago. So that's how entrepreneurs are. Like, you just so many things to juggle, so many problems to handle, that it's just now whatever is present. So hopefully as our toolkit evolves, it's also going to be that way, where when they have a problem on bribery, what to do, what's the situation. Ideally, it's not always like that. Ideally, really, the entrepreneur realizes that you need to really build the house. One of our one of the ladies who is part of the private sector advisory group, Lilia Barchuk, and she described it as, it's like building a house, and then at the foundation there is your values and what you stand for. And a lot of that is really about self-reflection, about knowing who you are, and then you build the walls of your house. So 4 walls, I always say. First is you write a code of conduct, and then you do some due diligence. You have some kind of level of due diligence in your company before you hire, before you find a partner, before you even sign up with a customer. You have to do some due diligence. And then there is, what's the, I think I wrote it down. Now I can't see. Yeah, there's also risk assessment. So you need to always look at risk. And then lastly is training. But she said the roof over the house is constant monitoring and auditing. And when you're monitoring, auditing, you know what to fix. You know what about training you need to fix. You know what about the code of conduct you need to refine. So that, to me, when rewriting this toolkit, I always remember Lilia and the house. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dan. I think that's a really amazing metaphor. And also, I think for us, it's really empowering to know that, the way that you think to upgrade this toolkit is to think on behalf of entrepreneurs, right? Like, what is putting yourself into their shoes? What exactly is the moment for them to take actions to look for the answer? And like you said, right, and similarly to the success of a startup, it's not a linear process. So in a way that the toolkit should not be linear, it should be, really situational. That will be, it will be easier for them, right? Because the challenges today, or if the challenges doesn't go step by step, right? Today I meet this, tomorrow there will be the next one. It's not a linear process. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And now we're going to turn our attention to Radhika on this virtual stage. Hi, Radhika. How are you?
I'm finally managed to unmute myself. Sorry, I had a little bit of trouble earlier.
Yeah, we can hear you very clearly.
Perfect.
Great. So Radhika, so in this updated toolkit, we have a major, section on the gender. So can you share with us, why it's important to incorporate this gender section in the Business Integrity Toolkits for young entrepreneurs?
Sure. Thanks, Linka. So let me first just start by wishing everyone a very good afternoon. And it's really a shame and my loss not to be there in person, missing out on Linka's energizer, but also I think the energy in the room. So I get to miss a little bit of that, but I'm happy that I'm able to contribute to this discussion via technology. So I think to your question, Linka, if I was going to answer it in one word, I would probably say the word opportunity. But I'll unpack that a little bit more in terms of sort of saying that, as you were talking to Diane about sort of the new iteration and you showed the going digital version of this toolkit, I think it was probably for UNDP a good time to also look at what are some areas that are gap areas in the toolkit from a content perspective that we could fill in this new iteration, right? So I think it came as sort of like at an opportune time to really look at developing this new content as the team was thinking of how to make it go digital and make it more user-friendly and reader-friendly. And I think why the gender piece is important from a more substantive point of view, I'll say a couple of things on that. I think firstly, it starts with UNDP. I think from UNDP's perspective, they place a lot of importance on recognizing women and girls, and the structural and kind of institutional challenges that come towards gender inequality, towards sort of gender equality. And all of that is very central to all the development work that UNDP does. And when we look at some of those structural and, sort of institutional challenges, we see that those are also mirrored in the entrepreneurial space, right? So we do have social and cultural norms in our region, for example, that can tend to limit the entrepreneurial potential of women in particular. And then third, that was interesting, I think, from this toolkit perspective, and the content was really that gender is not a homogeneous area, as we know. So the issue of intersectionality was really interesting, from looking at the intersecting factors of ethnicity, religion, disability, sexual identity, sexual orientation, and so on. And you see a lot of these intersections being reflected in the gender section as well. And then I think finally, I would say why it's important is a little bit to what everyone's touched upon already in the panel is, I think the toolkit was developed because it was a testament already that young people and young entrepreneurs can be leaders in championing business that is ethical and that is fair, right? And I think with this new gender section, it expands the belief a bit more to say that young entrepreneurs can also be champions for the inclusivity agenda, for the gender equality agenda within fair business as well. So I think those are kind of like a couple of reasons why I feel the gender piece is really important, and it'll be interesting to see in the rollout as people start using it, what they also continue to think about it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Radhika. And I think just to mention that we did a few introductions and test rounds of this new toolkit. And I think the gender section has really touched the hearts of a lot of young people and young entrepreneurs. Just maybe a little bit personal sharing here. I remember one of the female entrepreneurs was telling me one of the challenges that she has been facing recently. She said that one of her employees told her that she has been, facing some sexual harassment at workplace. And my friend was telling me in a way that she said that before she signed on to be an entrepreneur, she never expected that she has to deal with this kind of issues before. So, it's really important to learn about those things and create a safe and enabling environment for her teammate. So yeah, that's a very important segment. Thank you so much, Radhika, for sharing. So now we'll come to Mia. So apart from digitization and gender, another very important update of this toolkit is that we also involve young people, not just as entrepreneurs, but young change makers. Maybe there are the future entrepreneurs, but then at the same time, they are a group of people who hold, all the business operators accountable for, their business operations, because business integrity affects everyone, right? So Mia, as one of the main contributors of this upgrade version of the toolkit, can you share a little bit about your perspective of, as a young person, why do you think this is an important topic, and what do you think about this this toolkit?
Yeah, thank you so much, Linka. It's such an honor to be here representing so many young people and also be a part of this team. I can say most people on the team were non-entrepreneurs, if you can put it like that. We were students, people who just graduated, got into jobs. Some of them were taking bold career changes, some working 9 to 5. We had young dads, young medical doctors, so many people on the team. And we were talking about things, and I think Diane would agree with me on this. Our conversations only ended when somebody on the call said, I have 5 more minutes. I need to hop onto another call. Otherwise, it was very hard to get it done because the conversations were so relevant in everyday life things. And in a way, we can also call it a how-to adult one-on-one without being a boring person, but also having a little fire in you that wants to change the world. And let me give you a small example. We have gender, like Radhika said. It was absolutely brilliant because we had questions like, I identify with the LGBTQ. I'm gay, or I'm lesbian, or I'm trans. And I identify, that's my personality. But at the same time, I'm afraid, what if that thing is what's going to stop me from a promotion? What if that my identity or my personality is what's going to stop me from the next big thing? Or we also had, I'm too young to be here and I have all these things, but I know I'm talented. Why am I not getting that promotion? Or sometimes we had, this is a moral, ethical dilemma, and I know what to do, but I know people are not going to agree with me on this. So there were so many things like the gray areas, the red flags, the moral, ethical dilemmas, the gender and sex part of it. We had so many things that were practical, everyday tactics that we needed for life, not just for entrepreneurship. And all the more, it was really, really interesting because it was everyday life, things that we need, and how to fight people or how to be in a world that doesn't always value integrity or put integrity as core value. So for many young people, it is how to walk in a world and deal with people whose values are not the same as ours or whose values are not the same level of integrity as ours. Everybody has integrity, but then the level of it is going to be different. For me, if I'm on a 10 and if the person I work with, I'm going to say has a 3, then that level is not going to be the same. So how am I going to tackle that? So if Stefano, for example, one of the best people I know, his integrity is always 12. And when I come in with a 10 and I'm like, can we do this thing to make it work? And then he says, no, how should I take that? Should I take it personally, or should I try and understand this is a bigger picture, this is a bigger deal, bigger than ourselves? So all of that. It was big, it was huge, but also the relevance doesn't end with entrepreneurs. It's for young people, young voices, and more importantly, for a generation that believes they can change the world. Thank you.
We have a round of applause for Mia. Such a inspiring and profound sharing from a a young person, a young representative in this panel. It is relevant to all of our lives, right? Even though some of the discussion is really just at the policy level, it's at the business owner level, but every decision that we make, that we've discussed, has an impact to people around us, people that around our business, has an impact on their lives as well. So it has a big relevance. We have to think about one decision we make has this chain effect to all the stakeholders related to it. Thank you so much, Mia, for sharing that. It's really inspiring. All right, so that's more on the part 2, the present of this toolkit. So we're going to move on to the future of this toolkit. What do we expect? What is our, from the panel's perspective, what could be our call to action? So maybe we'll come back to Ben. So can you share, from UNDP, from the youth team perspective, how do you think we can continue this movement?
Thank you so much. Great sharing, and love hearing how you've taken it forward since those early days. For me, I mean, first of all, I think there's a good lessons learned in UNDP itself. It's very powerful when different teams come together and develop these kind of joint ventures, because it's really the collective intelligence that we have between us. But also see, having asked a lot of the youngsters, what is it that's most important to you? I hear two things. One is community, because a lot of them are lonely, right? They're in their own startup somewhere, doesn't know where to turn. So one of the main benefits of this initiative was actually solidarity among, and knowing that others actually are also thinking about these things. And it's not only profit, it's also really bringing these the personal values into the work, and really living that in everyday life. So as you heard from the colleagues here, so sustaining those communities and really, I mean, rolling it out, not just as tools, but actually as tools that comes with that solidarity. I think localization is going to be key for us. Here we're really looking at all partners. It's a call to action in this room to work with us in improving it and localizing it so that it fits you, in whichever language it is. And at the sub-national level, this needs to hit the ground, right? At the most simplest ways and forms. So these are some of the hopes that I have, I think, because the undoing of the normalization of the challenge of corruption and so forth is tricky. We need to raise awareness. There need to be, young people are your best allies if you want to champion this agenda. I do not see any others that have more to lose from not advancing the agenda, and they know it, and they would really love to partner with us. So I think this is some of the stuff that I immediately think of that we should start off. But I love the work that Mia and others are doing with the trainer of trainers programs, cascading models. We don't want to train 10,000 youth, right? We have 660 million young people in this region that needs access to this. There's no way of doing that unless we have thousands of young trainers training others outside of schools, in businesses, wherever it may be, everybody taking it out in the local language that works best for them. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Ben. So it's 3 hashtags: solidarity, localization, and trainer. Thank you. All right. And Larissa, as a young entrepreneur, how do you bring this knowledge and action to your fellow entrepreneurs?
First thing first is to apply all the lessons, the key core lessons from the FairBiz toolkit. Like, for example, we always do the KYC. It's now become like our subconscious thing to do. It's not written anymore, because sometimes our employee got, tore off the papers on the walls, and they know already, like memorized it already, because we do it on our daily basis. Like our day-to-day is that, like, we always dealing with like sorting suppliers, sorting partners, and then also like with our customers too. Like we always do the due diligence. Like we don't want to send reject products and many things. And I always tell that to my fellow beautypreneur as well, because a lot of them are also coming from youth population. So it is important to share that to my fellow friends, colleagues, and beautypreneurs. And the other thing is that to remember that our world is rapidly changing, and it is important for entrepreneurs to have the guidance to apply those principles that I mentioned before. So like having this toolkit really becoming like sort of like a tagline that I can bring along with me, so people will remember, oh, it's a FairBiz toolkit, FairBiz toolkit. It will come as their top of mind when we say business integrity. And then the other thing is to remember that because the world is rapidly changing, now people rely on youth, and especially many youngsters are now seeking the path into entrepreneurship, because maybe not so many job opportunities already out there, because there are also lots of laid off. And then so we have to support these youngsters to hold their integrity, especially when they started as a young entrepreneur, like what Ms. Dan said. Sometimes they get so busy in shaping the ideas, executing their ideas, but they forget once their business grow from 4 founders until the 400 employees of a company, they forget to shape the foundation, the integrity. Maybe for a starter or a startup level, you will only deal with the small investors, but as you level up, there are more stakes and responsibility on your shoulder. And if you don't have that integrity, you will it will so easy for you to get carried away with all of the glamorous thing outside. So that's the key takeaway from me.
Thank you so much, Larissa. Yeah, it's, and business integrity, associate that with your personal brand, with your business brand, and making sure that you advocate in the way that all your fellow entrepreneurs know it's not an afterthought, right? As using Diane's metaphor, right? If you're building the house, you shouldn't build like a 4 walls without a roof, right? Still, it's not a safe environment to grow. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And Mia, so we hear a lot of people in the room knowing your true age. I would say that you're the youngest person here. And what is your call to action, like to maybe to more than just to UNDP, to people here talking about business integrity practices? As a young person, what is either your call to action, what is something that you want to share to people here?
Thank you so much. And just to make you feel old, I'm only 19 years old. Yes, I got the gasp. I win the game. Yeah, I think a lot of young people feel excluded, regardless of how much you try to pull us in. There's always, you're too young. Why are you thinking of changing the world? And that may not be a straightforward way of saying. It's always, oh, this is how it has always worked. I don't think we can change it. So all those things are always, and maybe not always, because it's always not fair to generalize, a comma rather than a semicolon. We have a big pause there. So I think including us more is very, very, very important. I have to give an example. Before this event, a week prior to this, we were in Chiang Mai. Ben, Larissa, myself, Linka, we were there for a YECAB training, and I had the chance to meet so many young entrepreneurs. One of them was Jal. Jal is amazing, 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 amazing. He's such an amazing human being. And he has his own entrepreneurship and enterprise, which is to sell clothes and fashion. And now he's also going to expand it to skincare. His story is really inspiring because there was a big pause when it came to COVID. And then there was also a big question mark. What should I do next? But because Youth Collab had come up with crowdfunding ideas, he was able to push his vision forward and they're now going successfully. Sometimes that push forward doesn't always come. You keep looking. Larissa will agree with me on this. There's not always a clear answer. And I think I have to take this point from Ben and something I listened in the morning from Macklemore, if you know him, he's a goal artist, which is sometimes you're alone, you feel alone in the dark. So we are not always alone in the dark, yet we feel that way. So I think if we keep pushing that, not just pushing in words that we are here to support young people, maybe giving them the mic, passing the floor, giving them the chances, opportunities, and also sharing stories of success. That's not always happening. Only when I saw Jal's story did I realize like so much of this is happening and we need to give more space to young people. And that's only when we can do stuff. Did I, myself, I was like, wow, this is happening. I'm not alone in the dark. And if that message can be spread, I think that's a big one. Please include young people in your discussions. It's our world. We need, the loss is more to us than it is to you. You're all old. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mia. So yeah, include young people in your practices, because when other young people see it, they feel more motivated and know that it is also possible for them to do something to contribute to it.
I think the last statement kind of changed the mood and then Linka brought it back to what I was trying to say. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mia. All right. I think we are at the end of this panel discussions, and I think we are running out of time for Q&A, but you're very, very encouraged to reach out to our panelists here on the stage during coffee break, ask your questions, exchange your contacts. So with that, we will conclude this panel discussion. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Radhika.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for a great session.